Alright, today is May 11th, 21. It's right about 5:47 a.m. in the morning, and just getting to the screen, feeling tired again, didn't sleep real well, so really trying to get on a better sleep schedule, which is not easy for me because I'm not really that much of a morning person, which this makes things extra challenging for me, being that I'm trying to trade at 5 in the morning and try to go to bed at 1 in the morning and survive on 4 hours of sleep, a little more. And I know some people say they can do it, but for me it doesn't really work that well, so I'll keep working on it. But so anyway, where are we at today? Kind of opening at the lower side of range in the overnight session, pretty close to the overnight low here, and nothing real exciting, kind of in a fairly tight range here, opening up in value right around yesterday's value area low, a tiny bit below, so would expect we've already kind of been testing yesterday's value area low and yesterday's value in general, so it looks like we're going to be looking to test the lower side of that. You can see in these profiles we're still kind of really chopping around in this value area. This is a composite profile for the last couple of weeks or so, and we're right in that. So looks like we may be trying to test the lower side of this value and possibility to break down and then maybe test down into these lows from these previous composites here. If not, kind of the same situation as yesterday, so nothing real exciting here. We do have a little bit of room here to move down and test the lower side of these previous days range. Then we move to the 15, kind of same type of deal, looking to test the overnight lows here. Possibility to move lower from yesterday's lows, and then we also have some areas here from Friday's lows as well. High demand zones here, high demand areas at both of these bar lows here from Friday's low and Monday's low. So if we can move below those areas, we definitely have some room, and we are going to be sitting right on top of this previous value here. Upside, if we reject these lows, would be looking to come back obviously and test the untested point of control from yesterday and potentially take out these bar highs here, eventually to test the value area high, and then who knows above here. Those are the areas that I'll be looking at. Short term opportunities, looking at we're right around an area where we'd be looking to take out these bar lows. So if I can find some kind of setup here in the short term, I'll be looking to take that out. We're already getting pretty close here. Looks like I might have been able to grab an opportunity to take a short off of this, rejecting these bar lows here. But we will see what kind of opportunities we can get. So that didn't take very long. We have already taken out both of the short-term targets here from yesterday's low and then Friday's low as well. So on pretty big volume, we had some pretty large buying coming in. So looking back, it's real hard. I try not to take a trade right away. I feel like I'm really not doing a very good job when I'm just trying to get risk on right away, just without really understanding what's going on, without being real wide awake. But I definitely could have seen an opportunity here after marking my volume zones here. We have these lows here, failure up, back up into this supply area, and then we come all the way back down. Once we push down below this volume and hold from below, anywhere in here would have been a decent try. And what I'm seeing are the overnight lows from here. Look at this. This is just really, really weak. This is not showing any unfairness this is not an unfair price. This is real weak and likely to be broken when retested, and it went pretty quickly. So now I'm just going to kind of hang out and wait. Not a lot to see here on the 15. We're going to have to go back even farther, back on the daily, to see where we're likely to go. We definitely have some downside targets here, but all of this is kind of previous value. So we will see. I kind of try to zoom in a little bit and see if we can get a little bit more. There we go, on the 15. That'll give us a better idea of where we're likely to go. So we do have some, but again, we're sitting now right on top of this previous value here. That's as far as I see it. We have a way down here, we have a failure and rejection of price down here. Fairly significant demand level here, that where we went all the way from the 63 round number to 64, 65, so almost 200 ticks. So this has been tested now with Friday's lows. This area has been tested. So a lot of this value has already been tested. So if we get a large expansion move, I would expect that we would be able to come down and test the top side of value from this previous day. And anywhere in here is really open for a further move down. Alright, so after waking up for a few minutes, feeling a little bit more clear-headed, but something to notice here is every time that we've come back down into this major demand area here, we've rallied sharply off here. You can see the first time was Friday, down into here, came right back. Monday yesterday as well, again sharp rejection. So this is really showing unfair price here. And then today once again, so context for longs here makes sense. We have large volume coming in. We can't really call this, the only issue is that we can't really call this fresh demand anymore, because this is pretty much the third test down into here. So if we do get back down into this area, I'd be looking for this to possibly break and test lower. But for now, longs are definitely on the table, but wouldn't be surprised if we come back as well and test this again at some point. Especially being that this is the overnight session where this low, the new overnight low has been put in now. And here we are up again, retesting yesterday's value area low and the previous lows of the overnight session. I just had an order in here to take a little short here, and this is more of like a counter context trade, being that we put in all this large volume down below, but we had this imbalance, this failure of the previous lows here, and this imbalance pushed down, and I was looking to grab it right off this trouble here. Unfortunately, we broke down below these lows in this volume. So now this trade isn't really not as valid, because if it does get all the way back up to where my previous entry was, you could say that this is failing these lows after a low tick here, and wouldn't be surprised if we move higher. I wouldn't really want to see this back here at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if we do retest this, but it's still a little more risky not already being in on the push below. And my target would have been at least back down to the 64 to test this volume here and see how we, that's where I would be getting my risk off and seeing what happens when we, if and when we come back down and test these lows again. So this is an area I'm going to be watching real closely, obviously, but for the short side trade, this is kind of an area where got to be a little careful coming back into this volume here and here below, but not really looking to get anything on here. I want to see how this volume is tested. We can see we're kind of approaching this low volume area here, and what we have on this visible bar profile here, the high volume here and here, what happens when we test this volume. Looks like there is some little bit of two-sided trade coming in here and forming this small range here. So hopefully I'll be able to get something on here soon. I don't know, without this being somewhat tested, if I can get a short trade on, or if I'd be comfortable with that to take out these lows anyway, or not looking to get fresh risk on here. It'd be better to have something. It would be better to have risk on already, like I was hoping to have up here from above in this 16 area here, with a stop above these highs to come down and flush and test this volume, and then have my risk off already and having a kind of a free roll on this to see what happens. So what I'm also looking forward to is trying to anticipate what is price likely to do if we do get a move in one direction or another. And as far as I see it, we don't have any real strength in any strong supply basically in the entire overnight session. All of this is fairly weak, just a kind of a slow grind down. Nothing showing any real conviction or any real strong selling here. And the same too since really the last couple hours. I mean, this is not strong selling at all. No real high volume. So if we do get a rejection off the any kind of strong price movement off of this overnight low, being that we have this high tick in front of here, so we have a little bit of something to watch there. But aside from that, we could get a pretty nice push higher to this, back to the point of control, and even to take out all of this up here, all of this, and to shoot up into this overnight high. So none of that is real, none of it has happened, but that's what I'm looking towards. But it looks like again, we are kind of forming a little bit. We have this untested supply here that we will definitely have to watch, and this high tick here for any kind of long side ideas. But that's still a little premature. We want to see how this volume below is tested. I know I've mentioned that a bunch of times already, but kind of looking to get on this long idea, and caught myself thinking on this little small imbalance push up here if I should get long here. But the issue with that trade again is that this small area here, this is certainly not a strong low. So for us to push down below this and to have these lows taken out is really very likely. So to get in here long is pretty premature. And even if I did do that, be looking for these minor bar highs to be taken out, but then we still have this trouble above and this fresh untested supply here. So at this point, that's not real valid yet. If we could see a flush of these lows and a rejection and an imbalance higher, at that point I'd feel better about trying the long idea, and again to manage risk tightly into this fresh supply. This is also a time when I'm getting a little itchy to try to get a trade on, and instead of being mindful of I need to stay patient and let the market show me what it's going to do, and a good indication based on volume, and rather than just trying to at this point just kind of toss a coin and make basically a coin flip trade, just trying to get something on because I want to have a trade on. Also, this is what I had mentioned on the trouble of the long trade, because we can see that our supply, our last buyer, was here into this fresh supply here, and this is exactly what happened. Is we have a reaction off of that area now. So if I was in that long trade, I'd likely have been stopped out, break even now, and now we're coming down right back down to very possibly to see what happens and take out these lows. So we're at the open now, and after testing this last supply area, we came down and formed this. We pushed down below the little value area here, and formed this compression bar, and then on the open we slammed down pretty good and then came back down to test the volume. And what we can see is again coming back down into this previous demand area and large buying coming in off the lows. Wanted to take the long on a pullback into this area just to have a manageable stop, but it ripped higher, and here we are up against the 28s, so just nothing for me to grab there, unfortunately. I tried a short trade down at the lows here, looking for this volume here to hold, and didn't last long. I took a -5, just hoping that the lower side of this volume would hold. Not a very good trade. I mean, honestly, looking at the longer term context on, again, coming into this volume area and just ripping higher now. I immediately tried to get back on the long side to take a trade on the upper side of the volume that was put in after I got taken out, but it just ripped higher and took off without me, and I didn't get a fill. I could have entered it at market, but didn't pull the trigger. So I had an order here at 32 and on this push up here, and did not come back to fill me. So expectation was to hold this zone here, the top edge of value here, and for this to hold. Our last seller or our last buyer came in here and held, pushed up, and now expectation, like I talked about in the pre-open, that all of this is really weak. So my expectation is for all of this to be taken out and to take out the overnight high, these highs, and then possibly up into the overnight high. And just missed the fill. It even came back and touched my price, and I didn't get it. So I'm short here at 16 and hoping to get back down below this volume here, down to the round number, but it's really holding this area. So I just got taken out for -4 again. So we're pushing up into this untested supply here, and this was real high volume origin of this move down. So I might have managed it a little bit too tight, but if I'm not gonna, if we're gonna get back above this 2021 number where all this volume is, then we're likely to push above here again at these. If we're getting above here, we're likely to push up again and take out this high. So real aggressive trade. Trying to short this high here is pretty risky. I thought it was worth a small amount of risk here, but I mean, this thing is going, it's really on a mission. So I mean, we've rallied 150 ticks just in the last 25 minutes so we'll see what happens now. So I'm sitting at 2 losses now, 2 small losses. So let's see if we can catch a little bit of this breakdown again. I have a feeling at some point we're gonna retrace down and fill in some of this space, but it seems like we're accepting price here now, so that's not good for the shorts at all. This is accepted price now, so we could definitely see higher prices. I am short again. We had this large imbalance move up, and now I'm trying to grab a short to stay below this volume that was put in right here. Aggressive again, coming back down to this accepted price, but delta is getting super heavy here too as well. We can see that here. I mean, prices continue to go up and we just keep selling. The delta is getting so heavy here. So hope we'll get one of these again, but now we're coming back down into this volume in here. So will this hold? I don't know. I'm managing my risk real tight here above this volume to hopefully hold these 26s, but here we are pushing down into this volume again, and the bottom is not dropping out. So we'll see what happens. I have reduced my risk further to 24 here above these bar highs. My target is to fill in this space and get back down to this big chunk of volume at the round number at 65.01. I'll front run that. We could really fill in a lot more of this space, but there's so much volume here that we're likely to have a reaction there, but we could get down all the way into the 64.60 area. Looking at just pure price, the 64.95, but all of this stuff is untested still. So we have a buyer coming in here, but we have last buyer here, but this is likely to liquidity to be down here below all this where these last buyers were. But I'm going to hold it to try to get down into that round number at 65.01. Crazy day, frustrating to see 150 tick move selling the lows of the move, and but that's how it goes. So I feel pretty good about how I've been trying to manage my risk pretty tightly, to take these small losses, to give these ideas a chance to work out, and hopefully we'll get a decent one here, and as long as these buyers don't step in again here heavy. But a lot of this is pretty thinly traded. This is a pretty unfair price, so we have a pretty big chunk of volume here, but this is really where a large amount of buyers stepped in again. So we'll see if I can get to that area. But I'm just going to take this off, not try to get greedy. If I can get a 20 tick win here, that'll feel pretty good, and that'll put me back in a positive position for the day. Likely to have a reaction where these last buyers were. So if they're still long, we're looking they're probably going to try to cover here, and they'll get squeezed out of this trade as well. So that should provide a little more fuel for the downside move, and hopefully we can just get this last bit here and see what happens. I don't know if I should, if I try to lock in 10 here, I might get nicked out, but I definitely am. I've moved to break even here now, but we very likely could see a move up into this 12 area, and then I'll get taken out, and I don't really want that to happen. The delta is just getting so heavy, and we've just had such a large upside expansion move, but we'll see what happens. So this isn't looking good. So I'm at +1 here, and this is pushing up. This is kind of the moment of truth to hold the lower side of this trouble here, and but I would expect this to hold. But if buyers are still in control, we have buyers stepping in, and I also have this absorption sitting below me now, which is not great, but it's looking good so far. Actually, it's looking good now. We have to come back down and test this volume and hopefully break that, but it's fairly volatile right now, so it did come back down and test it and hold this, so that's not looking good at all. I would expect to get taken out of this trade now. And I'm out +1, so that's unfortunate. 04, so that was 18 ticks. I was up 18, and I took a +1, so it was worth a shot, but it seems like there's buyers here still that are going to come back up and see what it looks like. We're going to see higher prices. Just try to short again, and we took out this. We high ticked the high here, put in this large volume here. On a little push down, I was trying to grab this 26 here with a stop just right above the volume. That's probably managing it too tight, but trying to fade these high of days has not been a very good strategy for me in the past, so I try to manage it very tightly. And now we are holding that, so I did manage it too tight, and now it's working down, and we're getting this nice little push down to where my expectation would be to hold the lower side of this. So that's unfortunate, because this is now would have been a nice trade for me. I would have had my risk off here now. I may try again to see if we can hold this trouble from the underside right around 22, but I don't know if I'm going to get a chance now. And this was the move I was anticipating, so because I managed my risk too tight, I was taken out. Instead of putting my stop above the 34 for an 8-tick stop, now I missed this trade. I'm already I had a +20. I was in at 26. So now we're getting back to my expectation of coming back to this volume around the even number at 65. So that's frustrating. But it's always a little precarious when you're trying to fade these high a day and low a day moves. And so, I mean, this is exactly what I was expecting, and there would have been my target for 25 tick win. So that's too bad. This has been a big issue for me in the past that I've been trying to overcome, and getting over not letting my trades play out and choking them off. And so, for not wanting to take an additional 5 ticks of risk, right now this is a 56 tick move down from my entry, and the trade that I was, my expectation. So, I mean, really all this space could be filled in, especially after that move down. It seemed that we were definitely exhausted. We were seeing it on the delta, the inability to make any pushes up in delta with new highs. And so, that's just like, sometimes that's when I say I should just quit for the day, because that is just so frustrating. I did try to enter again on the lower side. If we had gotten a push back up into this trouble, I would have expected this to hold, so 21 would have been a little worse entry, but price never came back, and the bottom just dropped out. So you can see, I want to talk about this again. This is really the volume that I was leading on, and when we high ticked the high a day and had this small imbalance push, and I entered here, and then because I didn't want to take the chance of this getting ripped out again and putting my stop above the bar highs where it probably should have been, I put it at 28, and basically doesn't make any sense because the volume is still at 28 even. So price went to 30, traded only 24 contracts, and then the bottom dropped out. So if we wanted to hold this for a bigger move, I would be targeting, anywhere in here is a really good area, because look at these very unfair prices, these low volume nodes here. So 67, 62, any of these prices in here are likely to be tested from above, and even further down. I mean, there's so much space here. We could trade all the way back down to value here at 64.24 or the 64.30 area, but we are also in this back into yesterday's value. So, and here we are back at the area that I mentioned, this low volume node here, with the possibility definitely to move lower, but we have some structure here that we're running into, so this is somewhat untested. And then this 47 or the 50 area is untested from above too. So, but eventually, the possibility to move all the way back down to this 30. This is just crazy to see this happen. I mentioned the 30 number. Well, not only did we go to the 30, we came back down to the 10. So that is 116 ticks below my last short. So for 1 tick of risk, where my stop was 1 tick below the high here, and then we went down 116 ticks. So I just am never going to get a handle on this if I don't stop doing things like this, because I'm always going to be frustrated. I'm always going to be missing the big moves. It seems like it's just uncanny how many times I do this and how close I am to catching these big moves. And 2 trades, I caught this short here, which I had 18 ticks of equity and not able to take it off because I didn't get to my 01 target, and 116 on this move. So the results are -2 compared to the equity of the move and this first trade of about 140 ticks. So I really got to get a handle on that. I mean, this first one is a little bit understandable. because I was looking for the break and the test of this trouble here to the round number. Could have locked in 10, but then if I lock in 10 all the time and I don't allow the trades to work out, then I don't get the big moves. Same as this, if I would have, could have targeted this round number again, which would have, 35 ticks up rather than down 4, what it is a much better result. But just so frustrating, man. This, I just see it as I'm sitting here trying to be break even or, profitable. And these are the make or break situations where if I don't get a handle on this, I'm never going to make it. So, well, I'm not a quitter, so I am long again here. I thought I saw a nice little opportunity here. And we had this push down into this zone and a rejection of price here. I thought we were going to maybe come down and hold this level. We didn't. And we came up and took out tested these lows here and had a nice imbalance push up. And I entered on right at this volume here, hoping this would hold. And we did. We got a nice little retrace. Now I'm hoping that these bar highs flush here. And I'm going to take this off into this volume here to the left. We have a lot of untested areas here, but if these flush here, it'd be nice to get, if I can get up into that 74 for a 20 tick winner. My risk is off now at +1. I really need to get something off on this trade to get me back where I need to be for the day. It's been a frustrating day. Just the most frustrating part is that this day has just had massive amounts of opportunity, just huge swings, lots of volatility, and I just haven't been able to capitalize on any of it. So that's the frustrating part, because I always see how much opportunity there is. And so now I'm going to start managing this here pretty tight. I want to see if we can get a nice flush, but we didn't really get the flush that I was hoping for above there. So I need to get something off on this. I would expect these bar highs here to hold. So again, it's a fine line about not choking the trade off, but letting it retrace and play out like it's going to. So we'll see how it's going to go. Okay, so moment of truth here. Hopefully we can flush this. I'm going to put my target right up here at 80, manage it tight in this little chunk of volume right here, and see if we can get back up into that unfair price there. We're trying to flush those highs. Not quite happening yet, but looks like it's going to go. Now we just want a nice little squirt above there, and I will manage it and take it off. I'm going to really look carefully here to try to lock in 20. It's just having a hard time getting above those bar highs, but it's looking like it's going to go. Let's go. Come on. I just need a little help today. Just give me a little love. Work in my favor here. But it looks like it's really having a hard time at those 74s. Volume coming in a little bit. It's not really any high volume or any big sellers coming in, so I don't really want to take it off too early. If I was seeing some selling, some large volume and selling coming in, but that's really not the case here. So now I'm going to be looking to get it, lock in 20 here at least. See if I can get that final push up into the 80. It's looking good. It's looking pretty good. Well, you got at least 20 locked in here. And come on, baby, give me just that one final little couple ticks. Yeah, it's looking like it's going to take me out. Yep. But you never know. Maybe it'll hold. I'm kind of trying to, what's the saying? Be a dick for a tick. But it's all right. It's looking good still. Come on. Come on. There it is. 82.
So that's nice. That's good. That makes me feel pretty good. It's been an emotional day for me. Um, Try not to be a little whiny crybaby, but um, I'm so close. I guess a lot of people always say, "Oh, I'm so close." That's right before they blow their account. But I'm reading the market so well and finding opportunities, and I just see so much opportunity. And when I miss it, that's even worse. It, Worse than losing is missing out on the opportunity of the good trades that you identify and you work out, and then you miss them. And I can't even count how many times I've journaled and talked about it where my entries have been so spot on, and it comes down to my risk management and my trade management, and to get nicked out on a stop to the tick so many times to see, and then huge moves. I mean, this is probably the worst one I've ever seen, to get nicked out on one tick from my stop, and for it to go 100 and almost 120 ticks in my favor. So, and this trade worked out really nicely as well. Trying to just take a win here, but we could see, just looking not so much in my trade, but just purely on what likely to happen, we definitely could see this whole imbalance fill in and all the way up into this trouble here. I wouldn't be surprised to see the 65. And with the volatility that we're seeing today, wow, look at that. I mean, it's just moving so beautifully today. But I'll take it. Can't complain about a 20 some tick win that I took. It was on that one I got 27 ticks. That's awesome. That's great. Here we are, all the way back up into that trouble. 65.04.05. Man, that's nice. So another 25 ticks. Not going to say I should always get the full moves, but something on the management of this last trade that I took is that when I took it off into this low volume area at 81, when we hit this 81, there was I could have managed it a little bit more discretionary, because when we went to 86, there was no pullback whatsoever. 86, pullback to 84. So managing it on the number bars here, I could easily have put my stop at 81 and see where we could get here. I mean, there's really no pullback whatsoever. Up here into the 97, then we had a little bit of a pullback here, but again, it respected the volume here. So putting a stop behind here at 89, and then continuing to manage that way. And here we are. I mean, definitely taking it off into this trouble is a very at 04, or even the round number at 65, but that's really obvious, and you're playing with fire there. Definitely likely to be a reaction off of that number, but even so, if I was still in this trade, this very large volume coming in here, so putting it here at 65.01 and seeing if I get taken out here, and here we have large volume coming in again, and then if I get taken out at 65.01, so that's a little different way to manage it. Obviously, this is a little bit more of a different day, very volatile day, lots of movement. So that management style doesn't work so well on a more of a less volatile, balanced day. But you can still, I mean, just managing off the volume works so well on these number bars. It's just amazing how well it works. So this video is probably my longest ever, but not anybody really watches these anyway, so it's just more of me talking through my process and what I'm seeing in the market and how I'm seeing it. But the opportunity again in this market today was just incredible. For what I saw, definitely could have grabbed some of this down here. I'm trying to, I've mentioned about not fading high of days and low of days, but with tight risk and the proper context and the proper read at the proper areas, I need to let go of that mentality, because this trade for this long was supported by higher time frame context. So I'm not just randomly fading high of days based on a failure of price or a high tick. This was supported by this. This was support. Oh yeah, okay. This was supported by this large untested supply here at the 65.30 area, and we look in that, and we see that's exactly where selling stepped in again. The long trade here is we don't have as recent of a price here, but we'd have to go back for more context on the 15. But again, this is an area that you can lean on. So these low days were put in here and were supported by this value, not only this value, but this large demand area. So not only was there large demand here created, but then we consolidated, created this value, and then large demand again, value, and then demand again here. So this is clearly supported by large, higher time frame players in the market here. Are they still going to be here all the way back from May 3rd? We just don't know till price gets back here, but we tend to always see reactions at these levels, and that's why it works so well all the time. And it's not just about expectations, right? Kelly always talks about, well, what can you learn? What information are you getting when something doesn't do what you think it's going to do? And that's just as valuable. And that's what I always try to keep in mind. And that was the idea for my this last long trade, because my expectation was that once we came back to this area, we were forming and putting in this value here. We pushed up the upside, and then we broke down here. So my expectation would be that we would come down and test this untested demand here, which is also supported by these bar highs. But what happened is we got this imbalance push up, and this held, and it was supported by volume on the number bars. So at that point, I had confidence. We had tested the trouble too. I had confidence that we were going to, not that we were going to, but we had a good chance to come back up and fill in some of this space again. And this thing is just a monster. I mean, it just keeps going. I mean, I took this off at 80, and here we are back up at the 21s again, back up to potentially test the high a day. So what's going to happen? I don't know. But I was going to quit, I was going to quit before this last win. I'm glad I didn't. But sometimes it's a fine line. If I tend to obsess over my previous trades, trying to figure out what I did wrong, how I could have managed them better, and instead of moving on, looking for new opportunities, my mind is still stuck in the old trades. It's a big thing in poker as well. I learned that so well. If you can't get past your previous losses and you can't move past the last hand, you can't focus on being present and working through what you need to, and your mind is not focused. So, great lessons.